Okay, let's talk about chords, how songs kind of work, and the exercise that I gave you in the last lesson, which was 2 chords. So I'm going to do this from middle C because our left hand is going to play the chords. Okay, so the 2 chords I gave you in the lesson were A minor, which starts with an A, we have a C, and an E. Okay, that's what our left hand would play. And remember, we talked about these are chord tones. And we also talked about these passing tones, or the tones in between the chord, as a part of the chord as well. So think of these as the parents, or maybe the higher class of the family. Maybe these are the parents and this is the uncle, and these are the kids. Okay, they're all part of the family, but these guys run the show, and these guys chime in when you need them, but sometimes you're not going to use them as much because they need to go to bed or do homework. Now, I'll explain that in a minute why. These have a more prominent element to your playing, and these are very important, but these chord tones are super important. So that was the first chord, okay, and then I told you, then try an F chord. Okay, so F, A, and C. Very close to that one. And then the G and A are the kids, okay, these are the passing tones in between. And in our exercise, what I was telling you is I wanted you to pick 2 chord tones. So maybe you picked A and E. Okay, so the C's gone. And then I said pick one of the passing tones. So maybe you picked, I don't know, it doesn't matter, D. Those are your 3 tones. And I told you what I wanted you to do is play those up and down the piano, the ones you picked. So let's say we picked A, D, and E. Okay, we play a chord here on the first tone. And just kind of play it up the piano, and maybe play it down the piano. See if you can keep a rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Just try to keep a rhythm, okay? And then you can keep those same ones if you want, and just switch chords when you come back here and do it again. Okay? And then after you've done that, pick maybe a different set. Okay, so maybe, and this time I'm not going to play, I won't do A, D, and E. Maybe I'll just do C, D, and E. Okay, so now that I've gotten back here on F, I'm going to start again, but I'm just going to do C, D, and E this time. So, and then I could do that again. Or now that I'm on an F chord, I can do 3 notes, 2 chord tones, and a passing tone with the F chord. So maybe we'll do F, B, and C. And if you don't like the sound of any of them, change it. So if you didn't like that B, because it's pretty dissonant, even though we're passing through it, it's okay as you pass through it. It's not so bad. But if we went like this, it really creates a lot of tension in sound. So you need to be listening for stuff like that. Now, why am I having you do this? I want you to get familiar with the different octaves, just looking down here and playing around the piano instead of getting just stuck to music. That's part 1. But part 2 is you need to understand something about the piano. The piano is this big. That's it. This is the whole piano right here. Okay? That's it. That's the piano. Okay? Yes, it starts over here, and again here, and again here. It's just starting over. It's all the same. Okay? So the relationship is, if you know this, when you look over here, you should know I'm looking at the exact same thing. Yes, it's just an octave higher. Right? It's the same. It's just the pitches are raising. And the other thing is, since there are only really 7 notes that are different, not counting the black keys, obviously, that's different. So these are half tones. Okay? When we go back and look at the chords I gave you, let's look at that for a minute. A. And then when I add the F chord, look at this. We're in one of those regions again. That's the entire piano. Because this is F again, right? We'd be starting over. So that means all the notes we chose can be used as we're playing back and forth from A F. The only reason I'm using A and F is I think going from a minor to a major is a little nicer. We could have went from C to A. Okay? I just think starting on a minor and then going to a major, coming back to the minor, it's a good little back and forth. But you can use any note then. So it doesn't matter. But if I start on a certain tone that's maybe dissonant, it might not sound good if I hit a dissonant tone. So let me do a few of those. Now when I say a few of those, that's basically the one. That doesn't sound too hot. Okay? Do you notice what these were though? Those were the children that should have already been put to bed. But here's the thing though. The children, or the passing tones, with the chord tones actually go well together. So if you don't just allow the child to ramble on, but you play them with a conversation with their parents or their family members, then it's okay. Sounds all right then. Because we didn't give them that much time to blabber on. There's only so much we can handle of a child jabbering on, right? All right, so here we go again with the F chord. If I go, here's the F chord. If I go, that's one of the children, and this is the other child. But if I play some of the parents, not too bad. All right, so that's why when I'm playing all these notes, and I'm using one finger just to show you how simple this is. Almost all of it sounds fine. Okay? Now, I'm not having you do any of those types of orders of things, but what I'm trying to explain here is that you can play anything almost in any order. And making up music is basically making up musical statements that seem to go somewhere. So if you and I are talking, I would say maybe, how are you? How are you? And you would say, I am fine. I am fine. Okay. And I'd be like, that's really weird. And then maybe you would say, how so? Okay, so I'm just matching the, what would you call it, like the syllables of the words that we would actually converse in a statement to make up a song. All right. Now, obviously, when we listen to music, most of the time we're not hearing just a chord and just a chord, but we do hear that sometimes. Most of the time we hear some kind of melodic mashup of. So there's more of a lot of times a melodic development with the left hand, and there's a harmony going along as they're playing together, right? So when I play this first tone, that's a harmony between these two notes here and this one, or something like that. But when I'm doing this and squeezing notes in, now we've got all kinds of different harmonies going, right? So it's way more complicated, and it sounds more like a song that you're used to hearing or something like that. So this is just kind of the precursor to get you set up on this. So you pick your chord and then pick a group of notes. So it doesn't even have to be 3. You could just do 2. Add an extra one. So a lot of times if you don't know what to play, I always tell people start with 1 note, then add 2, then add 3, then add 4, and so on. To the point where maybe you've got a bunch of notes. You've got a really long pattern. Okay? So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's going on there. And if any of the stuff I'm doing up here is confusing, it shouldn't be, because remember, the piano is only this big, right? In the context of what we're playing. From F to E. That's it. Because if I go here, it's F again. There's the same pattern, right? So remember that when you're looking at the keyboard, just glimpse it or glean it, whatever, in that context of seeing that small group and seeing the notes that you can be playing. And remember, the children can speak, but don't allow them to take over the conversation, because you will want to turn the piano off or send them to bed. Okay, so hopefully that helps, and I'll see you during your lesson.